Hello. Thank you for joining me today. If you are here live, I'm so glad you are here with me. I think we are going to have a good time this morning. I have my coffee, I'm ready to go, ready to do this. So today is going to be totally just Q&A. What do you need help with? Where are you having a hard time in your job search? Put your questions in the chat and then I will answer those. Super chats will go first. I don't know how many people we're going to be having join us live. Just know if you want to make sure your question gets answered, super chat's always a good idea. But I will be taking any and all questions. It might take a couple minutes for people to join us. Let me let you know too that today is sponsored. I'm like, today is sponsored by or brought to you by the Impressive Interview Kit. If you haven't checked this out yet, I think you should. Here's a quick little promo for you. So want to make sure you're impressive in every step of the interview process? Well, grab my Impressive Interview Kit in the description box below. It has everything you need to be prepared and stand out to make a great impression in any interview. Okay, so you can get that in the description box of this video. If you haven't checked it out, like I said, you should go check it out. But today I will be taking your questions. Feel free to put those in the chat and we will get started. And I know there's probably a little bit of a delay between you typing your question and me seeing your question. So what should we talk about while I wait for a question to come in? Let's see. One thing I would love to get questions about are, what are your networking issues? I was discussing this with some people this week. Networking is a key piece of job searching that people are scared to do. You have to be ready to network. So let's talk about it. What are your questions? Where does the fear come from? Let me know your networking thoughts. Leave those in the chat as well. I would love to talk about that. But we can talk about interviews, resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn, how to figure out what you want to do, how to try out things you want to do. I mean, sky's the limit on job search questions, but you gotta leave them in the chat. Let's see. Also, I'll just shameless plug while we're waiting. If you are not following me on Instagram, I would follow on Instagram. If you are not following on LinkedIn, I would go follow on LinkedIn. We've been having some really interesting discussions over there recently about job interview projects and also the idea of making a career pivot. So those are just a couple of things I want to make sure you know about. And if you have questions, you came here today because you probably have a question, leave it in the chat. I am going to check on my phone to see if questions are coming in and my StreamYard just isn't catching up to it, because sometimes that happens. Let's see. Okay, now a couple came through. Whew. So, Catherine, how do you convey the true scope of your job duties when you performed 3 positions under one title? So Catherine, if you're talking in your resume, I love giving subheadings. So I did this in my last role as a career specialist at a university. I had student interactions. I had employer relations. I had some management experience. And so it was company name, title, and then a subheader in a different font of one of those sort of 3 positions that you did under that title. So in mine, it would say, career student or student facing career, something like that. And then I bullet point what I did for that part. And then in that same font and format, employer relations. And then I bullet point what I did with that. And then I would put management. And then I bullet point what I did with that. So that is going to be a really good way to showcase different skills in different areas. And And then if it's in the interview, it's basically just dependent on what they're talking about in that time, or like what questions they're asking you at the time. On LinkedIn, I've seen people do this as well. They just give different titles to bullet point the different things. I actually am going to go back and do this on mine because for my company part, it just lists everything as bullet points in one section. And I want to make sure that it's divided out so people can see kind of the different things I do within this role or within this business. And so I'm going to go back and divide them out. Okay, so let's see if more is coming up over here. Luis, I saw your statement. I didn't see a question in there. So if you have a question, feel free to add it. It's Rachel or Rochelle. What is the best way to follow up via email? So I'm assuming you're talking about following up either after you've applied or after you've interviewed. I have a video on this, but if it's for the interview or after the interview, wait a couple of days if you haven't heard anything, and then just make it brief. This is what I think everyone needs to realize is these emails do not need to be long. Make it brief. Hi, I just wanted to check in. I just wanted to restate that I'm very excited about the position and wanted to see if there was any update on when a decision might be made. That's it. If they gave you a day, we wait until that day. So if they say, we're hoping to make decisions in the next 2 weeks, well, then wait till 2 weeks and then that afternoon or the next morning, follow up and say, hi, I haven't heard anything yet. I just wanted to check in and see if there was any update on the position or if you need anything from me. I'm still very interested. Like, keep it very short and simple. I think one thing to know, this is what I wish someone had told me. It's always 90% of the time, it's going to take longer than they said. It's funny because to us, we think, but you need someone in this position. You're hiring because you have a need. You're trying to fill this gap. Don't you guys want somebody right now? And why wouldn't you take the time to do this? Because they still have other things going on. Because they still have to do all the other jobs they're supposed to do. And they're trying to stay above water in those. And so while maybe this should be priority, it's not always priority. And so, it gets pushed back. So my point in this is, if for some reason they say we should know in 2 weeks, 2 weeks have come, 2 weeks have gone, and you haven't heard anything, don't automatically think it means you're out of the running. They most likely are just running behind. So any other questions? I did this for you all today because I know people say, oh, I want to ask you a question, or I can't always get to everybody in chat and answer all the questions there. So this is your chance, y'all. This is your chance. Leave some questions. Like I said, it's a Saturday morning. The coffee, you think it's kicked in, but it has not kicked in. The impressive interview kit is in the description box. If you haven't looked at it, I would go look at that. It's really going to help you in getting your interview kind of skills together and get organized for any type of interview you might come across. And if you're not joining me on Instagram, I would join me over there if you want to know a little bit behind the scenes. That's where you can find that info. And on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I love doing polls and having conversations with y'all around topics on those polls. Sasko said, let's see, I got my job with your help. Thank you. You're welcome. Congrats. Feel free to put in the chat where you're working. I'd love to know. Also, that just reminds me, just because people sometimes ask, Saxco, I'm not pushing anything on you, but people have written me and said, oh, I got my job because of you. How can I say thank you? Where can I send something? Y'all, you can always buy me a coffee. There's a buy me a coffee link in every single video because I love a nice coffee. And so that just makes it really easy for you to send a nice little token of appreciation. Check that with other creators too. I'm not saying that like, hey, you got to do it for me. I just know that question gets asked a lot. And so I thought I'd put it out here. But if there's other creators that have helped you or you really like their stuff, see if they have a buy me a coffee link. It's a really nice way to say thanks. Okay, Catherine, let's see. What is the best program to run your resume through for keywords prior to submission? And how do we as applicants determine what keywords to include for the job posting? So I know a lot of people use JobScan. I actually don't use any program. I think you can look at that job description and figure out what the keywords are. It's normally pretty obvious. Any sort of hard skill, like a software, a certification, etc., they're going to want those. If it says things like time management, organization, prioritizing, like those are obvious keywords. The way I go through it is I like printing it out, old school, like printing it out, or if you have it on your iPad with an Apple Pencil, put it in like a digital notebook so you can highlight. I like highlighting in some way. So I like to print it out, get a highlighter, and highlight all the keywords I find to then make sure I'm putting those in my resume. So that's how I do it. I don't think you always need one of those programs. I do think you can figure it out for yourself most of the time. Okay. John, I have an interview this Wednesday and I really want the job, but don't want to be over eager. What is the best way to show how enthusiastic I am without it being too much? Okay, interesting question. I like this. So one way you show you really want it is by practicing, by being prepared. So again, I would go in the description and get the impressive interview kit. It's also going to link to feel confident and prepared for your next interview. I would do that just so that you are prepared. Get everything in order, because the person who took the time to really prepare, who's looked at the mission and the values of the company and all those sorts of things, that is going to really be a signal to them of, oh, this person really wants the job. Now, the second thing I would say, and this is just a slight tangent from what you asked, I will officially answer your question, but I've talked before of how at the end of an interview, you should send a thank you and do it as soon as possible. And people's pushback to me will be, but won't I look like really eager? I go, yeah, because people hate when somebody wants to work for them. Oh, like how terrible. No, it's a good thing. We want you to be eager, right? We want somebody who wants to work there. So, John, the ways to show enthusiasm are this. It sounds super obvious, but people don't do it. You smile. You smile while you're talking about the job. When they say, why are you interested in this position, or why do you want to work here, things like that, our face should naturally light up because we're excited. So, we smize, as Tyra Banks would say. Another thing is, make sure you say the words, I am very excited for this position because I'm really interested in this because if you're doing those things, you're showing a proper amount of enthusiasm without being overeager. Because I do know what you mean. There can be a point where you're so eager that you could come off as too much. Enthusiasm is not too much, but I do know there is like a tipping point. But I think if you just stay with those things of smiling, of saying, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really interested in this position for this reason. When it comes up, that's going to be it. Now, I will say one way that you can end up being overeager is one way you can end up being overeager is if they ask a specific question and you answer it and then still go back into why you want to work there. It sounds strange, but people do this on questions that had nothing to do with why you want to work there. They just want you to answer the question at hand. So like, tell me about a time you handled difficult situations. Sometimes people will answer that and then be like, and I know that if I worked here, I would make sure that in any situation, I blah, 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 blah. Like, we didn't ask that part. Why are you adding to it? Don't add to it. Just answer the question that's asked. So I hope this answers that for you. Okay, do you know why the number of applicants on jobs posted on LinkedIn keeps going up and down several times a week? Hi, Liliana. I don't. Here's what I would say about it. Who cares? Like, This is my thing, y'all. Who cares how many numbers there are saying there were this many applicants on LinkedIn? We don't know who those applicants were. We don't know if they were good applicants. You know, there are some people who sit at home and just keep going, submit, easy apply, easy apply, easy apply. And they're just applying to anything under the sun. And so it could be, I had a student once see that a LinkedIn position had 30 applicants and they went, oh, that's a lot. And I was like, that's actually not a lot. There are jobs that have thousands of applications. And so if you're freaked out by 30, 300, 3,000 is going to really freak you out. But who says you're not the one, right? So ignore the number of applications. If you think you're a good fit, go for it. Why are we letting that number decide our future? Just go for it anyway. So I don't know why. I think it's a glitch. I will say, honestly, I've noticed on some jobs a surprisingly low amount of applicants that I've thought, is there something wrong with our system? But again, it doesn't matter because we just apply based on what is good for us. Okay, let me see. Next question. Oh, Ruby, this is just nice. Thank you. She said, I've been watching your videos for about a week. I've been trying for 3 years to get a job thanks to COVID. I'm from the UK and I have a career advisor myself, but they don't help as much as you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Ruby. That was really nice. I really appreciate that. Keep watching. Look at the resources in my description to see if there are some other ways that I can be of help. And let's see if we can get you a job soon. Okay, Luma said, I've been unemployed since the pandemic. How do I explain this gap in interviews? It's been a really rough year. Thank you in advance. Yeah, Luma, first off, you're not alone, right? There are a lot of people who have been unemployed during the pandemic. I actually did make a video about this not too long ago, so I would go back and look for that. But the short answer, what have you been doing with this time, right? That's going to be a really big thing is what have you been doing with this time? Were you helping family members? Were you learning new skills? Did you network with people? Did you decide to career pivot and you've been researching other things you could do? You need to explain the gap by talking about what you've been doing. Now, here's what I'm going to give some hard truth. And this isn't going to be, what I'm about to say is not a blanket statement. This isn't how 100% of interviewers feel or hiring managers feel, but I've just heard this. If you were unemployed through like February, right? March of last year to February of this year, I think everyone just kind of understood, and I don't even know if they'd make you explain a gap. But I have had employers recently say, if I see a gap now, like at this point in July, I go, why haven't you been working? You could have been working, whether that's true or not, because I think there are things like, well, maybe you're immunocompromised. Maybe you didn't feel like a good candidate for the poke or whatever. Like there are other reasons, but this they are going to question. So I will say, and I say this for if you're unemployed all the time, not just with this year, go get a part-time job. Go get a job at the grocery store, at the restaurant down the street, at the boutique down the street. Go get some sort of 15 to 20 hour a week job just to show that I'm willing to work. It shows a lot about your work ethic to take something, and it will make you feel like a member of society again. So I think that is something to think about. It's not 100% of the time. Please don't think I'm unsympathetic because it's been a very hard year for a lot of people. But I have heard that now of jobs are so plentiful right now in certain areas. I went to 2 grocery stores this week that are like, we're doing on-demand hiring, like on-the-spot hiring. Like, no, you might not want to work at the grocery store forever, but while we're finding the forever job, maybe it's the thing to do. So think about, should we take something just to have a place to go every day, just to get to to not let that gap keep getting bigger, maybe that's the thing that we should go do now. Okay. Okay, I was about to say this is great, and that doesn't sound right because this is a hard thing. So Ruby Rose, you said, I just got back an email telling you that you didn't get that job. Please tell me, one, not how to not waffle too much, and two, how to get relevant experience for jobs. I'm 19 without experience. It's hard. Okay, so I don't know your full situation, and please know when I start to say this is great, obviously this is hard, Ruby. I'm sorry you didn't get that job. What I meant, my tongue that doesn't do what I want, was this is a great question because you are not alone in this. Okay, I'm in a Facebook group where people come in all the time going, I didn't get the job. It's so frustrating. You know, I went through all these steps and I didn't get, how do I come back from this? So this was not the right job. Like, let's just say that first. It just means this was not the right opportunity. The right one will come along. Two, you're allowed to feel your feelings and be sad, right? It's okay to be disappointed. I think that's something of that we have a hard time with. And I've mentioned this before. You can be bummed, not bitter. Okay. So that's a thing. I think you're allowed today to be sad. I think you're allowed, depending on the job, depending on where you are in your life. I had a job that I didn't get that I think I spent a solid 5 days being like, okay, that one really hurt. Like, you're allowed to be sad and feel your feelings for a minute to kind of move on. Don't think you have to like jump back on the job boards, start reaching out to people immediately. Like, let's take a minute and be sad about this. That's okay. But do not let it enter into bitterness, okay? Nobody wants the bitter job seeker. Nobody's going to hire the bitter job seeker, okay? The person who's bitter and complaining online about how hard this process is, they're not, that's going to be a hard hire. So you're allowed to be sad for a second, but just don't let it turn into bitterness. Then start to evaluate. Did you want this job? What did you like about this job? What did you not like about this job? What would you do differently next time, right? And then move on from there. And then your second question, how to get relevant experience for jobs. You're 19 without experience. It's hard. So I don't know what kind of jobs you're going for. I don't know if you're in school right now or not. You know, I've had college students come in before and say, you know, I'm a PR major and I want to get a part-time job in PR. I go, well, wait, aren't you in this major because to get a job in PR, you need a degree in PR? Yeah. Okay, but do you have the degree in PR yet? No. So then why do you think you can get the job in PR without the degree in, like, it doesn't work that way, right? So if you are looking for jobs while you're still in college that are relevant to your field, be looking for transferable skills. You know, if you want to be in, I'm going to stay with the PR example. If you want to be in PR, part-time jobs in PR don't really happen. But what skills do they use? They use writing. They have clients. Guess what? Those are customers. Go get a customer service job. They need to know how to do admin things. Go get an administrative assistant job on campus. Like, think of the other ways you can fill that experience. If you are looking for full-time work right now, same thing applies. It's all about transferable skills. So a lot of times you have experience, relevant experience, and you just don't recognize it. We all blow off the job working retail or the job working as a server. Those jobs have massive amounts of skills that are needed no matter what the position. So make sure you are thinking about how to translate those skills from one to the other, okay? How do you translate the skills from this job into the new field? I promise you probably have them there. You have to communicate with people. You have to organize things. Like, those are the things to be focusing on. If you're just trying to get your first job, where have you done some of these things in school and can translate them to get that first job? Oh, Lisa, how long does it normally take to get an offer letter once you've been made an offer over the phone? However long the HR of that company wants to take. Doesn't that suck? I don't have a normal answer. No, I would assume it should be about 24 to 48 hours. Let me put it this way, Lisa. If you've been made a verbal offer over the phone and you didn't get your offer letter formally or next steps or something within 24 hours, follow up. That you have every right to follow up at that point. Okay, that was a quick one, but I hope it helps. Let me check some things here. Woo, all the stuff came in. Okay, so Namrata, what is the best way to transition from non-tech to tech field? Well, that depends on what in tech you want to go to. You know, if you want engineering, computer science, IT sort of job, we probably need some schooling or certificates for those things, a coding boot camp, etc. If you want to do something that's more the non-tech side of the tech industry, that's going to be a lot of networking. So that would be my short answer to you, because I would need a bit more information. I would also be trying to meet people. Either way, I'd be trying to meet people in the industry and be asking them, how do I make this transition? You know, these are the types of roles I'm looking at. How do I make the transition over? What am I missing? I would be asking questions in that area. Okay, Faith, this is a great question. Is it a myth that you shouldn't be applying on the weekends because it gets to the bottom of recruiters' email by the work week? So there is a whole thing around timing and like, oh, you shouldn't apply at this time of day or at this time, or you shouldn't send the follow-up email at this time, etc. And I'm not saying there's nothing to that, but I think the best time to apply is the time where you will do it. So let me give like a non-work example. There's a whole science around our sleep patterns and our energy depending on your sleep pattern. It's called your chronotype. I am what's called a lion. I'm a super early riser. And they say, based off your chronotype, the best time of day to do things. And the best time of day for me to work out, according to that type, is like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Well, you know what happens when I wait till 4 or 5 in the afternoon? I don't do it. I don't want to do it. So really, the best time for me to work out, even though it's not technically best scientifically, is like 11, because that's when I will still do it. And that's when it fits into my schedule. So truly, the best time to apply is when you are focused and sitting down and ready to do it. I will say most good recruiters are going to go through that whole pile, whether it was the weekend or not. They will make sure every single person is seen. So personally, I would not worry too much about it. I'm not denying that there isn't a science to when to apply, but I don't want it holding you back. I don't want you to fill out an application but not press send on a weekend because you're like, oh, now's not the right time. Let me wait until Monday. And then Monday comes and you forgot about it and you didn't send it and you go, oh, well, now it's 5 o'clock on Monday. And so now it's going to be in the overnight pile. So let me wait till Tuesday. And then we just never send it. Like, just hit send. At the end of the day, just hit send. Thank you for that question. That's a good one. Sorry, reading through questions, y'all. Okay, I know a lot of people are in this spot. Sandra, she said she was laid off May 2019 after 27 years, 55 now, tried insurance financial services, but didn't pass Series 77. I'm assuming that's certification. Then the pandemic happened. How would you move forward? I would sit down, first off, again, you're allowed to feel your feelings, but please, especially with this age group, and I get it, I'm not saying ageism isn't a thing. It gets real easy to get bitter. It's not going to help us move forward. So I want you to be able to take a minute and be bummed about it, okay? And then we gotta move forward. I want you to think through, what do you actually want to be in? So, did you want to be in insurance? Did you want to be in financial services? I understand it's hard when we just want a job. I get that it's hard. It's like, Cassandra, I don't care. I don't care. I just want a job. I want a paycheck. I get that. What I would say is take a really hard look at, what is it that you actually want to do? What are you excited to do? And then, Sandra, you got to network. You've got to keep meeting people. And when I say network, I don't mean go to these mixers and just get business cards. I mean, you've got to meet people and ask them to coffee or ask them for a Zoom informational interview. You've got to be trying to talk to person after person and learn more about what they do and let them get to know about you and let them see that you're a hard worker, that you are willing to stay in it, that you're not going to retire in 2 years, like that you still want to really put in the work and do a good job at the company. You are going to have people who will pass you by, but there will be somebody who will give you a chance. We just have to meet that person. Every person we meet is getting us closer to the person who will give us a chance. And I've seen this happen. I know these recruiters who say, somebody gave me a chance, I want to give that person a chance. And so know that those people are out there, but we have to be meeting people for that to happen. So figure out a little bit more of what it is you actually want to do, and then start moving towards that. Do you need, to go back to school? Do we need to take a class? Can we volunteer to get more skills in that area? And then start meeting people that will say, yes to a coffee, to get to know them, to start building that relationship and then move forward. If you need more help with that networking piece, I do have a whole course on it called Creating Opportunities. And it's on my website. If you go to cassthompson.com to the store, it's there if you want to see more. But that would be where I would start. The other thing I would say is, it might feel humbling, but same advice I gave earlier. Do we go get the job at Sprouts? I live down the street from a Sprouts. At Sprouts or the grocery store or the eyeglass shop or whatever. Do we go get some sort of part-time job just to have a place to go every day, just to have people to talk to, just to start bridging the gap on that resume? Like, I think it might help motivate us to move forward. So something to think about. One more thing I would say is staffing agencies. I would be signing up with staffing agencies. I know they get a bad rap. Do the research, go online, research the ones in your area. You can sign up with multiple. I know it takes a little bit of time, but they will find opportunities for you if it's the right thing. And so I think it's worth looking into that as well. Okay. Hi, Cass. How are you willing to endure a toxic environment? First off, maybe it's just written away. I'm not willing to endure a toxic environment where your manager treats you like a number or a robot and does not push back or question the management decisions. Jed, this is another one where I think I might need more information. I have been in toxic environments that I've quit, and I've been in toxic environments that were in contract work, and I grinned and bared it until my time was over, and I was so stressed I broke a tooth. So I'm not a big fan of toxic environments. Now, I've also been in environments that are halfway toxic, and I needed a paycheck and didn't have a way to leave and had to figure out how to make it work. And I think that's where you might need to see, how do you get through your day while we're looking for something else? So and some of this is going to sound really basic. Like I said, I don't know your situation. These might be things that don't work for you at all. But when I was in a situation where I had some coworkers that were pretty hard to deal with, I realized I wasn't taking lunch, I was eating lunch by myself, and there were other coworkers that I liked, and I realized I need to start taking lunches again, see other people, get out, do other things. I found things to do in the off time, like before and after work, that I really liked. I signed up for classes. I met cool people there. I got new experiences, while also applying and looking for a new job. So those are a couple of things. You're not going to be able to change your manager. Now, I will say there is a push comes to shove point where you go, I don't even care. I'm ready to quit. Before quitting, can you talk to your manager's manager? Can you go to HR? If it's something that seems like a real issue, I would look at doing those things before just absolutely quitting. But those are a couple of ideas. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Paulson, I had a phone interview 2 weeks ago. I drafted and shared with them an outline of the program with objectives and key activities. Was this the right thing to do? I don't know. I don't know what the program was. I don't know. And you said you shared with them your tentative plan for 30 to 90 days. Is this acceptable? It depends. I think it shows some real gumption, if you will, but it might not be what they were looking for in that moment. So I think sometimes there's a time and place to do that sort of thing, and you have to make sure this is something that they're looking for. If it's not what they were looking for, it might not be the right time to do it. Also, I'm curious how you shared an outline on a phone interview, but that's part of it for me. So let's see. I'm going to try, Charles, first off, thank you. You said, how can remote employees from developing countries better negotiate salaries and benefits from U.S. businesses that hire mostly locals? You know what? I'm going to be really honest. I have assumptions on this, but I feel like I would be... this isn't like completely my wheelhouse that I want to put info out there that might not be entirely correct. I have ideas. I think still the negotiating videos I've put out would still be helpful to you. I think doing your research on what it is in a US business, like how much the salary is there and what that would be where you are, like doing that research is really important. And figuring out that middle ground almost between that. But I don't have enough knowledge on international negotiation to really put a complete answer forward. And I would hate to give you advice that actually goes the wrong way. I'm going to research this though. I'm going to go look into this. Feel free to leave a because chat goes separate. Feel free to leave a comment about this on this video or another video to remind me. I will go research a little bit more and see if I can get back to you, Charles, with a couple, like some more tangible tips, because this just isn't quite my wheelhouse that I don't want to say something out of turn. Okay. So look, we don't all know everything all the time. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I'm going to do a last call for questions. While we are waiting for those to come in, I just want to remind you all again, the Impressive Interview Kit is linked in the description below if you need a little bit more information. So want to make sure you're impressive in every step of the interview process? Well, grab my Impressive Interview Kit in the description box below. It has everything you need to be prepared and stand out to make a great impression in any interview. Okay, so Diamond said, missed out on the chronotype sleep inquiry. You're a wolf or a dolphin? Yep, y'all, go look up chronotypes. It is fascinating. And there's now links to like what each person should be doing at each time of day. It's really, really very interesting stuff. So thank you all for spending your Saturday morning with me. This has been fun for the month. I will keep doing lives. I don't think they're going to be on Saturdays again, y'all, but I will keep doing lives, and I'll make sure to put all that info out there on social, on my email list, etc. If you're not part of my emails, go get the free interview prep checklist in the description box, and that will put you on the email list. I don't spam you. I only put out updates and things you need to know so that you're up to date on when I'm going to be online and things like that, because I love to hang out again. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me. I'm going to go finish my coffee, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.